For okay, so I guess we're live now. Let me just double check really quick. Yes, we are live.
Looks like we are.
Yes, so good evening, everybody. Tonight, Ask a Privateer. I'm on with my little buddy over here, Stefano Mesa, for this crazy episode. Stefano is the ultimate privateer because he races in multiple classes per weekend. He's like a club racer, bounty hunter when he's not racing Moto America. I mean, the dude even rides super hooligans on an e-bike. So what is up, Stefano?
What's up, Dustin? Appreciate for inviting me to the program. And yeah, I mean, I do race a lot. When it's the season, I probably ride almost every weekend throughout the year. And in the winter, I try and stay on a bike as well as much as I can. But yeah, I definitely ride a lot on a motorcycle.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that you ride a lot. Um, a guy that we both know, Bobby Levitt, the Boxo Tools guy out
Yeah,
east.
good guy.
He
Love
was
that dude.
like, he was asking me to ask you, what the hell do you do for a living, bro?
Dude, that's you pretty much just said it. I try and race a motorcycle for a living. I bounty hunt. I bounty hunt almost every weekend. Uh, to tell you the truth, I pretty much show up to Motor America to my money. I end up
Wow.
spending I end up spending more than what I could make. So I kind of show up to see to show the talent, and definitely have some fun with the boys and uh prove to myself mostly that I can run with the fast guys, as a privateer dude. So it's definitely pretty rad to be able to get out to the Motor America stuff. But how you say, I definitely mostly bounty hunt. That's my thing. And if it wasn't for Cowie's program right now, which is one of the only manufacturer that's paying out there, I couldn't really be making a living out of this. So definitely takes a toll out of me. I'm always on the road from track to track, but it's
Yeah.
definitely fun, man. What can I say? I ride a bike for a living. It's definitely
I
cool.
mean, that's got to be the coolest job in the world, basically, right?
Yeah, that can't get any better than that. I mean, they say try and get a job that you love, and here we are. So it's definitely cool. And I mean, it could definitely keep growing. You never know what can happen.
So you do a lot of club racing. I mean, I think your main series that you race in is the Pan American thing, right?
No, the Pan American stuff is mostly in Florida. My
Okay.
main thing's mostly CCS and Weira.
Okay.
I would probably say mostly CCS though. It has the most classes and the most contingency available for me.
Okay.
And then in some weekends they have the Astra Nationals as well. So some weekends I'm doing 9 races a weekend. So I'm
Iron
definitely
Man.
I'm definitely hustling from the 600 to the 1,000 and changing tires. My team my team in the regional weekend, it's myself, or sometimes my dad comes and helps me out. Lately has been kind of hard because of his kidney situation. So
Right.
he's been picking and choosing, like, mostly the Motor America event, since it's the most amped, like the most anticipated for, you could say.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had his help this past year as much as I wished. But I've had my good buddy Steven Roth. He works for Yamaha Champ School,
Yeah.
and he's a good buddy of me that pretty much follows me everywhere I go. So it's definitely helpful to have his hand in a lot of these weekends.
So, it's fun that you're talking about your dad because I was going to ask you about your dad. How is he doing it, actually, by the way?
Yeah, he's doing all right. He's probably watching us right now, and
Yeah.
he's doing good. He's analysis every day, so it's definitely a toll on him.
Wow.
But I mean, he can still get out and come to the races with me, and that's pretty much what he loves at the moment, and what he wants to do. So we were in Costa Rica last weekend racing, so it's definitely cool to still have him to come around.
Well, when you guys came out to the CRA event in June at the first club race that was there in like
Laguna,
40 years,
yeah.
you were racing that electric thing, and you guys didn't have a garage, so I was like, well, come on into mine, dude. And,
Yeah. That
you
was
know,
pretty
it
cool.
was so awesome because my wife and my whole crew totally adopted your dad for the weekend, and it was hilarious.
Better than everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your dad talked smack to me because I run the same race number as you, and
yeah.
right, and
You
he
better
was trying
make
to,
it proud.
yeah, he was, and then I think you know, when we came back from Moto America, uh, I think he called me fat. I was like, what, dude? Your
That's
dad's
definitely him.
awesome.
I wouldn't doubt him. I definitely wouldn't doubt him.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely are the epitome of a privateer. You know, your family's super involved in it. Even before that Laguna round, I even talked to your mom on the phone. I was like, oh my god, I'm talking to this dude's mom.
Yeah, she was doing all my registration for the track day and the races. So
Yeah,
they're definitely, how you say, they're definitely very involved, and still to this day, they've been through it. They've been with me through the whole process. And to be honest, if it wasn't for them and their pocket, I could say, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I could probably say it's been about 5 or 6 years that I've kind of like figured it out. My dad kind of figured out the sport, and he was like, listen, this is kind of like what you got to do so you can make some money out of this and keep racing. So that's kind of like what we've been chasing. And if how I say, if it wasn't for definitely both of them, I definitely wouldn't be doing what I love for a living.
I mean, that's just amazing. Like I was saying, you know, you are the privateer guy, and you know, I've actually seen you many times. I think on TV, on the broadcast, like in your leathers, on you know during qualifying, you know, changing your own
Changing
tires,
the
dude.
tires. Yeah.
What's what's going on with that, dude? Like,
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, to be honest, as a privateer, I gotta try and spend the less money as I can, to try and survive. And a Motor America weekend is already expensive as it is. When I do the one class, it's gonna be about 2,300 bucks in tires, just in tires. And then when I do two classes, is double that. And at that point, I'm still trying to save tires from the allotment we get.
well, I've
So like,
heard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody told me that part of the reason why you do that is because you've kind of been burned by people working on your bike. Is that
yeah, I mean, so
like you don't trust
I've
anybody but yourself to work on it?
I've had a lot of issues with a few workers. Not to blame them, in a weekend with me, like for example in a CCS. I mean, we're taking the tires on and off. I mean, 10 times a weekend. So it was just a mistake we all make. And it's not that I don't. At this point, it's not that I don't want anybody working on the bike. It's I can't afford to spend $1,500, 2 grand to have somebody come out and work on my bike. So I mean, I'll definitely I'll definitely appreciate a good hand on the bike. They'll definitely be good, but a good hand costs money at the end of the day. So
Right.
as a privateer is just one thing that is like, for example, I show up to a Motor America weekend, and I have my buddy Steven helping me nowadays, and whoever my buddies are. And we're pretty much changing tires and cleaning the bikes. We're kind of not doing clickers because we don't really know what to do.
Right.
So we're kind of just like, we're chasing a gearing, and once the gearing's right, he's like, all right, like, go chase somebody fast. And that's kind of what I have to do throughout the weekend and work on myself. But uh, good help around the bike is definitely good, but it's hard to get good help. I've worked I've worked with a lot of few guys, a lot of good guys through the years, and just it's hard to get that kind of help nowadays.
I mean that's all that stuff is true. The one thing I really don't understand is how a guy like you that's capable of winning races just about every time you grid up has to do it yourself. Like I don't get that. Like what the
Yeah, I mean,
fuck?
to be honest with you, I enjoy it. Some weekends is it's racing at the end of the day. Like sometimes it gets stressful. And like maybe throwing a hand on the bike and like keeping your brain off the race. Especially like in a Moto America weekend. a Motor America weekend is like your nerves are like through the roof all weekend. Like, like it's always like, oh, practice qualifying, like, oh, I got to go faster. I got to go faster, It's never enough, and sometimes you get off the bike and you're like, damn, like I just pretty much like rode the wheels off the bike, and sometimes you're way back there and you're like, well, I definitely got to regroup, and
Yeah.
it's like you sometimes got to throw all those nerves somewhere else and kind of like not think about the outcome of the race, like the race is going to like plan out how it's going to plan out at the end of the day,
Yeah.
so I think it's sometimes it definitely keeps my cool down and like that, like a fresh brain, I could say. Like I just go out and I'm like, all right, now it's the race. Now what do I do? It's not like an hour thinking of like, oh, this is gonna happen, this can happen, this might happen, and it's like some that those stages when you're thinking and overthinking all these things before the race, like just gets you through the roof, and like sometimes you just can't perform, Sometimes when you think you're going fast, it's just like you're not going anywhere.
Well, I've not seen you not going anywhere in quite some time.
No,
I don't think
definitely. And
I think you're a front guy, like pretty much just about every weekend. Um, you you've written a lot of stuff. I mean, lately you've been kind of the you've been like the Cowie dude kind of in California in the US, right? Like for the most part you're doing the Cowie thing, right? But I've heard I mean, I know you've ridden the R6. I know you rode one like last weekend in Costa Rica, right? Um, like as a racer, like talk a little bit about what kinds of different equipment you've ridden because I'm pretty sure. I mean, I could read you my notes from Ricky Bobby, but I'm gonna call him out. But he says he noticed on my laps that you and Jeff May went back and forth at some club races. Did y'all pre-coordinate who was gonna win? You know?
no, not really. I mean, yeah, how I grew up chasing that dude, man. My mad respects to that guy. He's one of the fast dudes that's been around the sport for a lot of years, and I grew up chasing that dude, and he gave me a lot of my knowledge. Chasing somebody fast, you learn how to go fast.
Hmm.
So my hat's definitely off to him, and I mean, how do you say? I've raced a lot of things throughout the years, a lot of different brands. I've pretty
Cowie,
much,
BMW, Yamaha,
yeah,
Honda, Ducati.
I think pretty much except Triumph. I haven't been on a Triumph or on a Buell, if you want to put the Buells in there. But
No.
yeah, definitely ridden, but I've definitely ridden a lot of stuff. How I say I'm with Cowie. I've been with Cowie since 2016. When they came out with the new Gen, the CX, the Gen 5 CX10, I think it was. And they've had this like good program, contingency program. So since then, like that's what Jeff May was doing back then, and he was like, "Yo, definitely try riding a Cowie and chasing this money, and maybe you can make some money." So we started doing that, and then Cowie came out, I think, in like 2017 with a good program. So in 18, we bought a Beamer, and we were racing a Beamer and a Cowie, whatever paid more in whatever class. But we didn't coordinate who won. He was always, I had a funny story back in like I want to say like 2015. I was riding a Gixxer 1000, and we were in Homestead. And this is when the big teams were going to test down in Homestead. And we had TO in the December rounds with CCS. And we had TOBC come with Eslick, right? And back then it was ran by Henry DeGaulle, and he had a shootout. And he had like he used to pay cash money in the shootout. And it used to be the last race of the weekend. And we went out, and Eslick was in the race, and I was beating Eslick till the last corner. I passed him in the last lap, and in the last corner, he literally cleaned me out the track. And I literally cleaned me out in the last corner. And I was super pissed. I was young, so I was like very upset about it. I didn't even show up to the podium. And Eslick comes over later, and he was like, "Listen, I know you're upset, but I just taught you a lesson. It doesn't matter if it's $500. $1,000, $10 at the line, I'm gonna go for it,
Wow.
And he definitely taught me a lesson, And so since then, I definitely, if there's bucks at the line, I mean, you gotta chase the bucks down. It's hard. The sport's very expensive as it is, so if you can make some bucks, you definitely got to try and chase those things down.
It's interesting that you say that you got cleaned out because before we started the show, I was telling you about my buddy, this kid that we used to sponsor back in the day. He doesn't race anymore. He's working man now. But Andrew Artola, we we were at Laguna Seca, and the poor kid, he painted his bike all up, right? He had it all up in the red and white, the white and red, the classic Yamaha scheme.
Yeah,
The
I
thing was
remember that.
legit, right? He's all excited, and I think it was still DMG. I think back then it wasn't Moto America yet, and I
Yeah, it
guess
was AMA still. It
yeah,
was the 16 to 21 class, I
yeah,
believe.
the Super Sport West or whatever, right?
Yeah,
And he goes up, and I guess at the top of the corkscrew, the first practice in the morning, I guess you
dude,
cleaned him out, dude.
I remember that. I hurt my elbow so bad, dude, but I think it was like my second lap, and I just went in there a little bit way too hot. Just, I kind of used the guy as a burn. Like,
Oh, dude.
I apologized to him and everything. We were actually good buddies back in the day,
Yeah.
because we were the Latinos, So, but it was definitely a hectic weekend. I had a rough weekend that weekend.
I
That
mean,
was
we could laugh about it now, right? But I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, for
shit, dude.
sure.
It's like, sorry
So
about
many
that, bro. It
years,
was 10 years ago.
dude.
Get over it,
Yeah,
right?
I know,
But
definitely.
yeah, I mean, I remember Artola was so dejected because he was like, that was it. Like, first practice session, he's wiped out and he's done for the weekend.
He was done for the weekend. I still raced throughout the weekend. I think his bike was a little too messed up to keep going. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, that's sometimes what the sport comes down to be. Sometimes you just, if somebody, I mean, not that he was aggressive, but sometimes you just gotta be aggressive and take some people out.
Wow, dude. I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna start this new thing. The last show I did with Melissa, she said something to me, and we're actually making a T-shirt out of it. And I think what you just said is gonna be the next T-shirt.
Sometimes you just gotta take people out.
Sometimes you just gotta take somebody out.
It just happens. And it's just how the sport is. I mean, you always try and keep it as clean as possible. But sometimes you get a little rowdy out there, and you just gotta
Yeah, I mean, look, I've
go with
seen
it.
I've seen you race. That you guys, the super sport class and the stock thousand class lately. There's times where it's kind of like a full contact sport, right? I mean,
Oh, definitely. I mean, sometimes it's unintentionally. Like
right.
Rocco one weekend cleaned me out from the back. It was his first weekend in the 600 class, and he just cleaned me out through the back. I mean, I kept it up. He crashed. But I mean, it just happens sometimes, right?
Right.
Unintentionally, and it's just you can't avoid it. But
Well, it's
and
always
some and
unintentional, right? Like there's not
it's
somebody that's like intentionally running you over, right?
yeah. Sometimes it could be like
Really?
that. I would say
Really?
so.
I
Sometimes,
don't think anybody
sometimes
would intentionally, because they could fall down themselves. Like that's
I
dumb.
I know, but it depends. Sometimes you can get a little rowdy out there.
Jeez, that's so. You know what, man? Like before we keep going, I'm just gonna kind of blow through some of the comments that I'm getting already. Barry from Barry's gonna whoop my ass again for not remembering. Moto United. There you go. He's a big dealer in Utah, and he's got a couple of comments for you. He says that you're a pimp and the nicest dude next on the hot pit in Pittsburgh. I guess he was in Pittsburgh with somebody, privateer guy or something. And then
Cool.
the guys from Pin the Gas podcast, Chris is saying that you're the man and you need to get the Ducati Superbike ride.
That's a lot of bike for me.
Oh,
That's
stop.
that's a lot of bike to handle. Nobody's been able to perform good on that thing yet. You could say in a way, you still can't beat the
But that
Yamahas,
Petrucci guy was old, dude. You're not old.
dude. The to go beat those Yamahas is pretty hard, man. Those Yamahas have been in rails for a lot of years, you know, and it's gonna take a lot of those things, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody in the sport. I mean, definitely you can definitely give it a try, you know. And I mean, some riders might do better than other ones, you know, but it's that. And it could be a great bike. I'm not saying the bike is not like legit, you know, but it's just Ducatis are kind of known for a kind of hard bike to ride. But I mean, we look at World Superbike and it's winning, and then we look at MotoGP and it's winning too, you know.
right.
So
I
I
mean,
mean,
maybe it's just Stan Bowley and I've had many chats about this, and maybe the U.S. tracks are not suitable for
suitable for the bike.
for
The
the stupid single-sided swing arm is, I think, the accurate the technical term.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes a lot of sense, you know. Samboli's a super smart dude, and I mean, I wouldn't doubt anything that comes out of him, you know. But I mean, it's definitely the tracks are definitely very different, and I mean, we have beautiful tracks, but it's definitely much, you could say, much tighter and much more technical in a way, you know. It's we don't have long straightaways, we don't have four car wide tracks, you know. So
Right, right. Well, I mean, some of the tracks are narrower than others, right? I mean, Barber is tiny, right? I mean, it looks, at least on TV, it looks super narrow, right?
yeah, it's not too bad, but it's definitely narrow. I mean, if we're gonna compare him to
Road
we're
America?
gonna compare him to Road America. Road America is one of my favorites. That
Yeah?
place is epic. Yeah, that place is super epic. But I mean, definitely some tracks are definitely a little bit much more. I
Brainerd?
mean, Pittsburgh, Raynard. Oh, dude, that place is something else, man. That place. I went.
I mean,
I went the
I
first.
mean, be real with me. Tell me what you think of Brainerd, dude. I
I
mean,
went
I
the
rode there.
first.
I rode there at the test,
Phew,
not this year, but last year.
last year,
And I
the
was on,
first year we went there.
yeah, I went with the team, and it was me on an R7, and then the
Yeah.
boys were out, all the Yamaha guys, right? So
Hmm.
it was like Jake and the guy we don't mention anymore, and then also Sculty, right?
Yeah,
And Greg White ended up doing some laps on an R3, and then the
that's
Superbike.
cool.
And I'm the guy that looked all dejected because GW got to ride it before me. But even on the R7, I was like, wow, dude, those walls are kind of close, right?
Dude, don't get me wrong. I like the place, and especially the first half of the racetrack. You
Yeah.
know, like the fast part is
Turn one,
epic.
two, three.
The walls
Holy
the walls
shit.
are definitely a little bit too close for comfort, right?
Yeah.
But then you get to all the tight stuff, and it's just like it doesn't make sense. And then the walls are like right there. You cannot
Yeah.
make any mistake as to a wall in a way. And I
Right.
mean, it's just a little dangerous. That's I mean, it's not an appetizing track. Like I don't think none of us look forward to that one race, and that's I didn't attend this one year because it's kind of far, first of all, and then it's just like not a fun. You don't have fun riding it. It's
Wow.
like
I
it's
mean,
so
the one area that I was like really weirded out by was that weird chicane thing at
the
the end of that
last
carousel thing.
yeah,
I'm
so
like, what the
weird.
fuck is that?
And so bumpy. And I guess this year they put some pavement on it to try and make it
Yeah.
better, but I think it was even worse.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean it looked like they did some work to it
yeah, and
before,
definitely nothing against the track. It's definitely fun.
when we were
I
there at the
mean,
test, there was like trees growing over it and shit. Like it was like, well, okay, right?
definitely no. Yeah, it's definitely a
So
little sketchy.
yeah. So I mean, now that we're talking about that, like, what do you what's your favorite track in the States?
I mean, that's a hard one, man. I've been to a lot of them,
I mean,
and
you said Road America's got up
I
there.
I gotta go with Road America. Road America is definitely my favorite. I mean, it's fast. It, it it's kind of it's a pleasure to ride there. You know, you're going through all these fast straightaways and like kind of kinks. You know, through the trees, and it's definitely a cool feeling to be riding the bike in that place. And it's always treated me very well since the first time I went there. You know, as back in the super sport class with AMA, that that's where I got my first pro win.
Oh, really?
Yeah, back in, I think, I want to say like
13?
2013 maybe, yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
That sounds
And
right.
and since then it's always brought me very good results. I always seem to perform very well in the track. It suits me very well. So I gotta go with Road America for sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, how do you think it's going to go this year with brand new pavement?
That's gonna be pretty interesting. It's gonna be much more faster. I mean, it's
Yeah,
fun, but it was definitely a bumpy track. I mean, you have some sections that is like, ooh, that was sketchy. So it's definitely gonna be much faster, and it's gonna be, I know, much funner. So all the classes are definitely gonna be rolling around
so
faster. So I'm
are you
excited to
are
go
you are
there this
you are
year.
you predicting lap records are going to fall?
Ah, for sure. I believe so. I mean, it definitely depends how the pavement goes breaking in, obviously, but
Yeah.
I think we might have trouble keeping a tire under us, to be honest. I mean,
Okay.
if I remember right, back a few years back, Dunlop had issues with some tires falling apart in that place. So we haven't had that issue in a few years. But with this new pavement, we're definitely going to be creating a leak. And new pavements known to chew through tires very fast.
Yeah.
And it's the longest lap time we have through the year. So
Well, it's because you guys don't go to Utah anymore.
yeah, that's one of the play I miss that place. Utah, that Miller was an epic place to ride in. That was not
Right.
very nice track. Yeah, it's very missed.
All right, so I got some more comments here coming in, and I'm just gonna kind of go through them. Obviously, you're getting a bunch of shout outs from Ricky Bobby, so I'm just gonna be like,
Appreciate
"What's
you,
up?"
Ricky, Bobby, and
Yeah,
Boxo, the help.
yeah. You and I kind of share a couple of sponsors. I'll talk about that in a minute, but yeah, Daniel Goodnight wants to
The
know if you're coming to train at the Slide Ranch.
Yeah, the
The
slide
fuck is
ranch
the
pretty
Slide
much.
Ranch?
We ride little flat track bikes over there. It's a good buddy of us, Lee. He has a nice little ranch down in North Carolina. So we all get together in the winters and go spin some laps over there. So I'm definitely gonna try and put it into the plans to go spin some laps over there. It's definitely a pleasure going to get some training in.
Have you done any mini bike stuff at like the Heron compound, that kind of stuff, or
Yeah, when I grew up, I did a lot of mini moto, supermoto. Not in a 450 much when I was little, but
okay,
a lot of mini moto. I went to the Herons compound a few times when I was younger, and I still do. I'm actually I ride an Ovali.
okay,
I ride a GP2, and I ride that a lot in the winter down in Florida. I also try and train little, like, up and coming talent that we got. So I have a few kids that I train around, and I help out. Some of them race in the mini cup. So um, I definitely use a lot of any training tool. I do some motocross as well. I do.
like out here everybody bicycles, right? So
I don't do a lot of training. I don't do a lot of the gym. And
you don't have
I
any
should.
time, dude. You're
I
doing anything but ride.
I know I should, and to be honest, I spend most of my time just driving to the tracks. I'm just 12 hours here, 10 hours here, 8 hours to the other place. So it's definitely not the time, and definitely if I went to the gym and maybe like but I just have a lot to get together. Like a lot of these guys just kind of just can go to the gym and ride a motorcycle. Fly into the air and just ride, and I mean it's just I do it a little bit different. And I just definitely try to stay on a bike and ride as much as I can. And I mean I endurance race as well. So I mean
Okay. Well, I mean,
I've been
clearly it's worked. Whatever the fuck it is that you're doing, it's working. Okay,
yeah,
like
definitely. Like sometimes in this Moto America weekends I get off one bike and I'm like, damn, that wasn't that bad. I'm kind of ready to go. So
so
I think
you know
then
we were talking about a lot of different bikes, and you've ridden damn near everything except for, what'd you say it was? It
I
was
think maybe a Triumph.
the Triumph. Yeah. Okay. So of all the stuff you've ridden, including the e-bike, like and I'm gonna give a shout out to the Pin the Gas dude again. Chris asked this. He's like, what's your favorite bike that you've raced? Like the one that
Man,
pays
that's
you the most?
yeah. To be honest, whatever pays the biggest check, that's the best bike in the market. But I mean, I gotta tell you, riding those electric bikes has been a pleasure, and I had the pleasure to ride the actual Moto E bike, the actual world championship bike a few weeks ago at your track day,
Yeah.
and it was definitely a pleasure. Those things are pretty interesting how they work and how fast they can go, So
I mean,
it was
everybody talks about how much torque they just have, just
correct.
on
It's just
tap.
it's just so different to ride, and it's just probably like not even fast, but it's just like it's cool. It's different, and it kind of brings like the old school riding into play because you don't have no electronics. You don't have traction control. You don't have wheelie control. You don't have none of this stuff. It's pretty much all in your wrist, like it used
Really?
to be back. Yeah, like it used to be back in the day. So you kind of like it's funny because I've been working with the camp school this past year, and like I've 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 been like helping them cool and just like listen the curriculum over and over. You like catch a lot of little things, like just they stick in your head, and it's like
Find direction.
yeah, well, I need direction, and just like one thing they really like tell you throughout the school is like the initial 5% of like brake input, throttle input, releasing the last 5%, all of those little things are like super key. So like when I'm riding this bike, like I'm always thinking, all right, well, I gotta go a little bit like 5%, and you gotta like load it before you abuse it, pretty much.
Yeah,
So
load the tire before you work the tire.
So it's definitely
I work
been
for them
cool
too.
to correct. Load the tire before you work the tire. So it's definitely cool to implement all these little things. And like now when you're riding, you're like, oh, I gotta maybe if I do this and this, I can maybe go a little faster. So
I'm
it's
curious.
definitely it's been very interesting.
I'm curious about that electric bike. I know that it's quite a bit heavier, right? And
Yeah, they're
there's
if
no
they're
transmission.
600 pounds, they're definitely heavy.
There's no transmission either. So
No transmission at all.
it's
It's
like
yeah,
sort of like the electric go kart at the the indoor go kart track, right? Like it's
yeah,
literally
pretty
like you
much.
step on the pedal and that's what you
you don't
got,
have
right?
you don't have nothing in the clutch or nothing in the gears, and like the first time I rode it over in your track day and in your race at Laguna, I caught myself looking for the shift gear a few times, like, oh, I need to slow down, like, and there's just nothing there, and just how you say they're so heavy, like going into the corner you just feel like just like, well, I'm on the brakes, but the thing is just like not stopping.
I mean, Carlo's asking about that. Carlo Manilo, he's one of my staff guys, and he's asking about the racing the e-bike, and we're kind of talking about the differences. But so there's the weight and then the no transmission thing, but like no engine braking, or like how does that, or a lot of
we do
engine
have
braking?
We do have engine braking, and we actually can choose how much engine braking we kind of want to implement. The bikes I've ridden, we normally have about 4 maps of engine braking, and you can like the more number you put, the more engine braking you got, but the more heat you're generating as well into the
Mm,
batteries, into the motor. So like what the electric stuff is always trying to stay to the cool side of the heat of the batteries, and the heat of the motor. So like we try and use something moderate. I mean, we definitely want some help because just the brakes ain't gonna stop 600 pounds of,
right.
of going
I
fast.
mean, they are like fancy Brembo monoblocks.
Correct. They're pretty much the nicest thing you can get, and
Yeah.
even the Master is pretty much the nicest Master you can probably get. But
Right.
it's just a lot of pounds going that like
Yeah.
it's a lot of G forces at the end of the day. You got to stop.
So you were telling me when we were riding around, I was on my super bike R1, and you were saying that it wouldn't really hang on the straights. Like, are they? I think they've tuned it down so the battery will last longer. Is that?
So we rode two bikes. We rode the upright bike, and we rode this new Moto E bike, and they're definitely fast, but they they're they're maybe a little slower than a 600, maybe I could say. But they're just it's just weird because I think they just feel fast because of how much torque they got.
Right.
So last year was the first time we like tried racing this bike in the Super Hooligans, and it was the Eva, the upright bike.
Yeah.
It was like pretty much a street legal bike.
Yeah.
Before we pretty much at your
Yeah.
track, they were
I
taking the
remember.
lights off, Yeah. So that weekend we were like kind of having some trouble with the bike with the batteries. We were overheating the batteries. We weren't running out of juice. We were just overheating the batteries. So we were playing around with the maps and trying to last. Then when the race came out weekend, we kind of made it last throughout the races. And we kind of placed pretty fairly okay. And then in the race we were half a lap short. And it was like it had to do a lot on me too, because I was like trying to like moderate how much throttle I would put into like going up the hill, especially at Laguna. I would just like put a lot of heat because it's 600 pounds at the end of the day too that you're moving around.
Right.
So I mean, we did a few changes and we got a little bit more durability out of the batteries. So it's definitely been cool to see like what the future kind of holds for us,
Like in its current form on that Moto E bike, like how many laps do you think you could do at pace before,
I'm not too sure, but
degradation?
if they were getting about 9-12 laps, 13
Okay.
laps, and
Okay.
much bigger track, so
Okay.
I think so there's a lot of difference there's a few, not a lot, but a few difference from the Moto E bike to the other bike. But one is the batteries. They have like this active cooling batteries. It's just
Active
like,
cooling.
yeah, I think it's like with air, just there's
Oh.
air circulation coming through the battery, and it helps it keep cooler. So that's one of the things like we were kind of testing at Button Willow, and I think we got like 9 laps at a pretty okay pace. So that's definitely, we were doing the whole session before we were running into any issues, in the Moto E
Yeah.
bike. So it's definitely it's just so cool, it's so
It is
different to
cool.
ride. It's just,
I mean,
and
when
I
you,
was riding with you and your other buddy, and it's like
yeah,
I could hear you guys, and I'm like, oh, well, I could hear everything they're doing, So like I knew I had to crack the throttle way before to try and hang with you guys, And believe me or not, like it took me 2 days, like getting used to the bike and seeing how much I could push the bike. It's 600 pounds that you're not used to muscling that thing around. So it took 2 days to be like, all right, well, I can kind of go this pace, and we were passing a bunch of people, and it was fast to go ride.
I posted that video, the clip of,
Dude, that
I
was
mean,
so close. Oh.
like
When
I
you
went
went to the
around the guy
outside of
and you
that,
went
dude.
under him, like we kind of sandwiched his ass, right?
Oh, that was
And
crazy.
but yeah, so I posted that video multiple places, right? And there was like a warning on TikTok. It was like, hey, if you do this, it's just
Yeah,
like trained professionals
definitely.
only. I'm like, where did that warning come from? I've never seen that before, right? So yeah,
Definitely.
it was
That
fun.
that was that was catchy. When you went to the outside, I was like, oh, that was gonna be close, dude.
Well, because the dude was kind of running wide,
I
and I was
know
like,
he was.
okay, so I'll
You're
go
already
under him.
committed. You're
And then
already
he
committed.
swooped out, and I'm like, ooh. I kind of picked my knee up and went around him, and I was like, yeah, it wasn't that close. It didn't look that close on my camera, but on his camera, I was like, oh, shit.
It was very close in his camera.
Like, that's all I need is to be like the track day guy, like taking out a
Yeah.
customer, That's not
Nah, but
happening.
that was cool, man. I had a blast. spinning laps. It's always cool spinning laps with a few buddies, it can't get any better than that.
So Carlo also wants to add. He's like, you're saying back to the 5% thing that the champ school. I'm just gonna give the champ school gang sign, or is it this now?
Both.
Right.
We still use both.
Yeah. So Carlo's been through the school too, and he's like 5% on an e-bike. How does that work?
Definitely. I mean, I come back and tell you, like, we don't have TC, so we gotta definitely make sure that tire is loaded before we can keep going with the throttle, or even on the brakes. Like, I do my 5% initial 5%. I know my tire is loaded, my chassis is loaded, and start asking what I want from it.
So you pretended that it was like a first gen GSXR 1000.
Exactly. Pretty much. Pretty much something like that, and just go easing into it. Like, then you can start pushing it much more. And like gradually go grabbing a faster.
So you race all these series, you do the international thing. Like, I mean, I touched on it at the beginning. You were in Costa Rica, like, so you wrap the season, you end up at my track day Thanksgiving weekend, and then somehow you're in Costa Rica racing last weekend. Like, how the hell do you like what's that about?
Yeah, so I've actually been going to Panama and Costa Rica for about both. I started going first to Panama. I went to Panama for like 2 years. I raced their series, and then I was invited over to Costa Rica, and I took my old Gixxer I used to race here. I first took it to Panama, and then I and we started kind of like racing it over there. And this year, I was invited by their federation to come race the full series. So I actually went like 4 or 5 times this year to race over there, and I raced an R1 on R6 and a YC 450 till the last race. I raced my KX 450. But it's definitely been a pretty cool experience to go race in this country. It's completely different. It's kind of more laid back, I could say, in a way. I mean, there's definitely fast people still, and but it's more laid back. They're still like learning a lot about the sport, if you know what I'm trying to say.
So
So like,
it's like going to a club race.
yeah, kind of.
I
It's
mean,
more kind of, but they're very professional about it. I
I
could tell that
browsed the
the
photos.
federation,
I
yeah, the federation does a great job, like running the thing, and like you have some fast guys and like guys that've been in the sport for a long time. And it's definitely been fun. I mean, I kind of go there because, as you mentioned earlier, I ride for Pirelli, and in my non-Moto America weekends, they're actually you could say my main sponsor, and I kind of make a living out of this because a lot of it's because I don't have a tire bill in a way
right.
in a lot of these club races, and tire is the most expensive thing in this whole sport, especially if you're fast. The faster you go, the more you need. You
Yeah,
know,
I hear
it
that.
gets pricey, so I work for them. Me and my dad are the exporters for their racing products. You could say their SC tires. So we sell a lot to Costa Rica. They're one of my biggest customers,
Okay.
and that's one of the reasons we go over there as well, kind of to, you could say, promote the business and show the tires how fast they can go.
And then you go there and take all their money and go home.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've built a very, very cool relationship with the federation, and like I've been trying to help them and like kind of give a school, but like try and help them go faster. Like learn the way. It's definitely been fun, and like it's been 2 years that I've been going there, and I mean everybody's been going definitely faster, so it's definitely been cool to go over there. And just like last weekend, I just broke the track records over there as well, in both the classes, and the 1,000 and the 600. So it means I'm going faster and I'm learning as well too. So, and I'll tell you what, man, racing in all this like different countries and like different tracks, like the tracks over there it's not really what we have over there. They're good tracks, you know, but they're a little bit more deteriorated. They might be a little bit smaller, you know. And I mean, at the end of the day, they have a very good track, you know, but it's definitely cool to like experience all these different tracks, you could say, you know. It's every experience, it's towards your book that you can use.
So now that you brought up the Pirelli thing, you know, Pirelli sponsors the TrackDaz program and has for quite some time. Um,
The tire battle.
and
I
actually,
love
I,
the
I
tire
think
battle.
I think the first time I actually met you, like I knew who you were, and I think I shook your hand and got your autograph back in the day. You know, back when you took out Artola. Um, but I think the first time I actually really met you was at one of our Pirelli Superbike Mondays. We used
In
to,
Laguna.
yeah, we used to host the Mondays after World Superbike
Mm.
when World Superbike was still coming. It's kind of a shame that there is not a U.S. round of World
I
Superbike anymore.
know. It's a
Um,
huge shame.
so
Especially with having an American over there.
I know, right? I
It's
mean,
like, damn it.
Pirelli. I'm still pretty good with all the brass at Pirelli, and I ended up talking to a couple of the corporate guys. You know, not just Oscar, but like the Euro guy, right?
Mm.
And he recognized me from 2019. And I was like, yeah, man, I don't know. You know, he's asking me if they're coming back to Laguna, and I'm like, I don't know. But I know Laguna apparently is being repaved. It's closed until June, so that's kind of exciting. But you know,
That's very exciting.
going back to the Pirelli thing, you know, you being the privateer guy, you know, how cool would it be to be able to ditch the spec tire thing and race Pirellis in the nationals? Like, what do you think about that?
I mean, dude, how I tell you, I mean, Pirelli's been a huge help for me. And if it wasn't for them guys, Oscar especially, and Kevin, I mean, those guys treat me like family. I've been with them for a very long time, you know. I've been at their side 5 years now, and I mean, we've been a good team together. We've breaking a lot of track records in my side of the coast, you know. And
Do you keep
we're
track of your track records?
it's I try to, but it's kind of hard. I believe I got like 12. I want to say like overall, not overall, like 12 in the club racing stuff, you know. I know the Daytona ones overall. I have a few that are overall, but not many. You know, a lot of them are like clubs, but that's kind of like as a club racer, what I consider myself. You know,
You,
that's how I make my money. So
I think
as a
it's crazy. I think it's crazy that you can still consider yourself a club racer, dude.
dude,
Like,
I
I'm
don't see
I'm
why
I'm,
not.
I'm
Like,
just amazed, dude. Like
but
you have this great talent, dude. Why the
I
fuck
know,
don't
but
you have a ride, dude? Like, what the fuck?
dude, I want to make money out of the sport, and it's just a lot of these guys are just paying for a ride, and just like
Yeah,
I don't have 150 grand to go pay for a ride. Like,
yeah,
let's be honest, you know, I'll put those 150 grand into kind of something else, you know, because like at the end of the year, I'm not even gonna make close to that. You know
right,
what I'm saying?
right.
So this is where I tell you, like love being kind of like the privateer and kind of like the underdog, you know, like I just at the end of the day, like I'm putting a lot of work to go race, you know, and that's what it's
Yeah,
all about, you know. It makes it much more gratifying to yourself, you know. So like when I know I'm working this hard as a privateer and like podiuming and like moral, you know, like
yeah.
against this guys that are paid pretty much, or like paying a lot of money to be on a very good bike, you know. Like when I'm fighting with these dudes, it's a privilege, you know. It's super gratifying for me, you know. It's you know, and it's
So
like
I'm
why not consider myself a club racer, you know? Like I still that's the most thing I do. Like that's what I do. Like I'm a club racer. I club race every week. You know, it's like I would show up to like some races here and there. Like I understand. Like all right, like I wouldn't be. I could be considered a pro, you know. But like, yeah, I'm a very fast club racer, you know. And like, so it's funny like that this comes into play because like I tell you I follow CCS and at some points CCS and Moto America like kind of race in the same track a week after a week, you know. So a lot of times I get penalized because I was making my money last weekend, and it's like that's the series I chase, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I'm getting penalized for Moto America for making my money and like racing a club race, you know. And then you have a lot of this Moto America guys just kind of like getting by with different ruling, you could say.
Endurance races.
Correct, which is like, dude, you're you're spinning 120 laps at least in an endurance race, you know. Like
Wow.
I'm spinning 12, 16 laps because I don't even practice in a I don't even race, you know. Like I don't want to spend the money. I just wait for the race, and my first race is my first practice, you know, just to save a little coin, you know. That's just what I do, and it's like at the end of the day, I spend 22 laps at the end of the weekend. You're really gonna penalize me for that? And like, it's mostly in the
Politics.
six, and it's mostly in the 600 class, which I only do like one or two classes. I spend like what 12 laps, really? You're gonna
Yeah.
penalize me? I only did 12 laps, but it's all
Wow.
right. It's all cool and it's all cool and like, I mean, I still show up and have my fun and like I try and do the best I can. I can do nothing else, you know. I
Well,
kind of know what I have under me and I can perform. So I'm gonna go out and perform the best I can.
you a lot of people are super huge fans of yours just because of all that shit you've been saying, right? And so like I have some more comments too. Like one of them is let's see. Daniel Goodnight also says, "How can we get our hands on that green Mesa beanie that you're wearing?"
Oh, dude, that was a gift from one of my good guys. But we can maybe work something out. I'm gonna try and get some merch done for next year.
Yeah,
So
dude, you gotta sell merch, man. I tried to buy a T-shirt from you at Laguna. You didn't have
I know,
shit.
dude, but you know what? It's so hard to be like, all right, well, it's like $30. It's like $50, whatever you want to ask for the shirt. You know, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to ask that as cause you're my buddy at the end. I don't want to charge you. You know, like
Dude, I told you I'd buy a shirt to help your program, and I
I
guarantee you a lot of
know.
fans would help drive the
Uh,
bus.
I know, definitely, definitely, and I've been thinking
You're one of those
a
dudes that
lot.
doesn't like to ask for help, huh?
It just, I don't know. Hey, if you want to help me, I'm open for the help, you know. But it's just, I'm not one of those guys that I mean, I try not to at least, you know. I mean, listen, racing is expensive, and we all know it is, and it's like, I mean, it's hard to ask for money. Let's be honest, you know. So it's
But
like,
dude, you have to. You
I know,
have to. You have to ask for help, man. Like,
I know.
dude, the
That's the
help is
hard
there.
part.
I bet for a guy like you, the help's gotta be there. You just gotta ask for it, dude.
It's hard, dude. I've tried. I've Believe me, even
You
the
need to
part
hire like
like
an agent or something. Get like Zimke to help you or
you're
something,
right. That's gonna cost me more money as a privateer. I can
But it
afford
might make
that.
you more money, dude. Like,
Nah, dude, the sport is crazy. You're gonna have to go pay for a ride. You know,
I hear you.
like I've gotten offered. I've gotten calls from a few teams. You know, and it's like, hey, you want to come ride the bike? And I'm like, well, can I make a little money? They're like, well, not really. We can pay for the ride. And I was like, man, I'm making a little money on my own. Like, why kind of would I go? No disrespect. I would, you know, but I want to make a living. I want to make a little money, you know, and like how I told you in the beginning is like when there's $500, $1,000, 3 grand, 5 grand at the line, you're gonna try that little bit harder, you know, and I think that's what racing is all about, like that eager to get there, you know, like you always want to be the best, and like as a racer, I think you never stop learning. You can always keep learning and working on yourself, you know.
So Ricky Bobby mentions he's got this like novella question about Martin Cardenas, but like I know like he's kind of one of your idols or something, right? Or mentors, Martin Cardenas. Like, tell me a little bit about Martin Cardenas and your experience with him.
Yeah, Martin was pretty much like family to us. You could
He's
say
the
my
other
parents.
Colombian guy, right? Like,
He's he was another fast guy, you know, and he did a lot of racing over here, and he was I really looked up to the dude when I was growing up. You know, I used to kind of follow him as a kid and like be around the pits with his team, you know, and just be hanging out, you know, and just really looked up to him. And I mean, it was pretty cool to watch him ride a bike. He did it just with such ease, you know, like just natural, you know. It was super natural to him, and like just like never in a rush, you will always accomplish, like his tire you will always kind of work, you know. So he was definitely one of the
What
guys that
happened
I
to him?
always I
Because it's
he
like he
ended
came
up
out on,
doing,
he went out on top. Like the dude was a beast, and then he just disappeared.
yeah, after the superbike with Yosh, he went over to Europe and he tried doing some world super sport, I believe, in 600s. And then he decided to do the surgery they get in their forearms so they don't get arm
The
pump.
arm pump thing. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that just it almost killed him. He got a blood cloth and like
Who did it?
almost. I'm not sure who did it. I'm not.
Whoever that
It was
was is a
this
dick.
was a, yeah, I know, this was a few years ago too. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, he's still
Jesus.
around. He's a family man now. He has a little kid. He has a little boy.
Oh wow.
I want to say he's like maybe 2 or 3. Um, and his boy, I know he's been on bikes already because I've seen pictures of like him giving his little boy a ride, you know. So uh, I always tell him, "Yo, dude, I have my bikes here. Come do like a wild cart, you know. Like I'm pretty sure he can come and kick some ass, you know. He was he's a natural, you know. You have a lot of naturals."
So Joe H asks, this is definitely a question for this show. What's the trash talk like in the other countries?
You know, like every like the countries I've kind of gone to kind of like really look up to like the US and like what we got over here, you know, like it's like we have a really, I could say we have a good program kind of going on over here, but then like I mean, I guess I'm gonna trash talk a little bit, but then Moto America goes ahead and up, you know, like now this, I mean, nothing against the baggers. I personally like the bagger racing, you know, but now you're adding all this like races and like you're taking like what should be important, you know, like, and like I don't know, it's just it's kind of weird. But the trash talk in the other countries, I mean, it's the same, you know. There's still a trash talk. I mean, there's always trash talk back and forth, you know. But I think it's I can tell you what, in the countries I've been, there talk, but they definitely keep it kind of calm, you know.
But it sounds way cooler in Spanish, right?
Yeah, I think the curse words maybe, you know, it just different. It's just very different. So it's definitely cool to go to all these countries and just hear a different aspect of it, you know.
So
And just
Jonathan,
see a different culture, you know. Just the different cultures is pretty cool.
so Jonathan White, he's got a couple of questions. The first question, well, the first comment is that apparently I need to do a regular series with you, like I do with Stamboli. Like maybe like post Motor America weekend, I could do a download with Stefano.
Yeah,
We should
definitely.
do that, dude.
I'm down.
By the
I'm
way,
down.
while I'm talking, I texted my shirt guy and I was like, "Hey, dude, Stefano came with a new shirt idea." So I ordered the shirt
Yeah,
already. Like, so I'll let you know
that's
as soon as they
funny.
come out. Like, there's two. The last one is called the one with Melissa was "Scumbags with Honor,"
That's
right?
funny.
All right. So Jonathan's other question really was, what do you feel the main differences are between the tires that you run with Moto America and your beloved Pirellis?
Man, that's a hard that's a question I come across a lot, and it's like I don't have no I don't have no issues with the Dunlops, you know, like I can perform on the Dunlops as well. I think it's like a lot of it is like adapting to the tire and what the tire is doing, you know. I personally like the tire of of the Pirellis just because they give me the confidence that the grip is always there, you know. The tire
Yeah.
gives you the tire's movements or whatever the tire's doing, you know, lets you know what the tire wants to do or what's kind of capable to.
Right.
The Dunlop just like kind of doesn't give you that feel, you know. It's like sometimes it does. I'm not saying it doesn't, you know, but it just like doesn't give you that feeling, you know. Like I spend so much time in my Pirellis, you know, like I can always I can always I know I can always trust it in that tire back to back if it's the same compound. It's definitely gonna feel the same, you know. Like I know if I put a zero, the next zero I put on is definitely gonna feel very similar, you know. And like I mean, sometimes with Dunlops, that's not the case. Like sometimes in Moto America, like we're in qualifying, and I personally don't go through all my tires. I try and save some money, you know. But like in qualifying, I go out with a new set and I come in the middle of the quali and I throw a new rear, you know, and it's like it feels like a complete different tire, you know, and it's like it's the same compound, it's same tire pressure, same everything, you know, but just feels completely different, and it's just like just there's been a few things, and it's just I just love my Pirellis, and like I
Me
go
too.
faster in my I kind of go faster in my Pirellis, you know, like I prefer Pirellis. The look on the Pirellis when they start like kind of you get used, they look better, you know, and I think it
I,
has
I
to
like
do
I like to tell people that the Pirellis, because I run them too, um, when they wear, they're like super good in the beginning, and then they get to that one point in the wear of the tire, and then you basically get that all the way till the cords are
all the way
showing.
through the cords, correct.
Yeah,
Like you don't have no other fall off, you know. And
yeah,
the Dunlops might act different. And how I said, I'm not hating on the Dunlops, you know. I'm
right.
not.
Well,
It's just
I don't even ride them. I haven't ridden a Dunlop since like '06,
a lot of
except
people
for on Richard's Superbike when I got to ride that thing.
a lot of people don't. And like how I was telling you, I've been like 6 years with Pirelli, and like it in at least in my coast, you know, like you go to a club race and everybody's in a Pirelli, you know, like there's very few guys on a Dunlop, you know. So I mean, it's always don't get me wrong. I wish Moto America would open the tires. You know, like I think he'll bring more sponsors. I think he'll bring little bit more money into the series. You know, like I wish it was open. You know, each tire company is gonna want to go and get their gun. You know, get their hired people.
Well, as a privateer guy, I mean, I talked to Melissa and I talked to Richard a lot. Richard was doing it himself forever, right? Like he's still a lot of the stuff that he does, he's still doing it himself, even though it looks like he's the factory team, and he's certainly the factory representation. But I mean, a lot of the stuff he's doing himself, man. And the biggest expense that Melissa and Richard told me is that the expenses to travel. Like, is tires for you more than the travel, or?
Listen, I do it as a privateer, so truck, right? I don't drive a semi. Driving a semi across country is expensive, and I mean, I'm not saying traveling is
Well,
not expensive
I
because
think
it's.
I think what he's mentioning is the travel with is like flying the guys out and like hotels and shit.
I don't have that issue. I do it all myself. Those are things I can afford. You know,
Uh,
as a privateer, I can't afford those things. You know, so it's like, listen, it's already expensive the way I do it. I can't believe how expensive is the way they do it. You know, and
right.
like it's just a whole different ball game, dude. Just a
So
whole different ball game.
Ricky Bobby, I think, told me earlier today. He said that you have a Gucci horse trailer.
Oh, Gucci horse trailer. I don't know what he. It's a nice trailer. Yeah, I mean, I live on it. It's my house.
Oh,
It's my
really?
house on wheels. I call it my Taj Mahal on wheels.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a nice trailer. I spent a lot of my time in it, you know. So I used to travel on my truck with a 18 feet by by 7.5, you know. So it was a lot of years. Like going
Wow.
through it, and I used to sleep in my trailer. You know, it's just been a lot of years growing up and trying to make it better and trying to make it better. You know, and it's like the way I mean, it's an act. You know, so I mean, it's definitely a nice trailer, and I mean, it's my house. You know, I love my trailer.
So, okay, so, you know, do you have an advice for somebody? Let's say, I'll wait for you to come back.
Sorry, 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 sorry.
No worries. I'm sorry. I told you, man. This is like long form discussion, dude. It's
It's
great
alright.
because,
I'm
like, you know,
cool.
it's cool to get people to get to know you. You know, but
No, definitely,
like
of course.
you're the pinnacle of the privateer life guy, and you know, I'm sure there's a bunch of club racers that would like to give Moto America a try. So, like, what from your perspective, what would you advise them? Like, what path should a club racer take to do a national? Like, try one in their local area, like what, you know, so they don't have all the expense of travel, or what you know,
I mean,
or do the barber thing, like a lot of people do barber in Laguna, right?
I'll definitely do you. I mean, normally you're fast in your locals, and it depends what you're kind of what you want as an outcome for you. You know, like it's kind of like you're obviously gonna do better if you go to one of your local tracks. You know, you have a better chance at it. You know,
Right.
but going to go learn a new track, like it's definitely cool. But then like you go in a Moto America weekend and you just it's some of these tracks are tricky, you know, and like you just mentioned Barber. Barber for me is it's a tricky track, you know, like you might not go very fast the first time you go there, you know. And with Moto America, you get, you know.
Right.
But I mean, I mean, I I'm one of the guys that I tell I listen, I'm a club racer and I tell all my buddies, yo, come race Moto America. Like just I think you'll do good, you know, like what's really you might not know and you might end up battling with somebody out there, you know, like and like I'm not saying Moto America don't have a lot of talent. Like you look at all the classes and you're stacked with talent, you know, like in a lot of the classes you got top 5 or even top 10 that is very fast, you know. You look at stock 1000 right now, you got 10 dudes that are known in the sport, you know. Like
Right.
super sport, you got a few guys. I mean, all of Superbike, the Superbike grid, obviously, you know, but like you look all the other classes, like even twins, you know, like these up and coming like good good fast dudes, you know. So it's like definitely see talent out there, you know. So it's like what's the best you can do? Go battle with somebody and you didn't even expect what to do, you know. You
I mean,
you
some
you
people, you know, being a club racer myself, I'm super happy with just being a club racer. I'm the grassroots guy, dude. Like, I don't have any national aspirations or anything like
But
that. But
you'll do good. You'll do very good if you go and decided to go race the stock 1000 class.
yeah, then I'd have to run Dunlops, dude. I don't want to do that.
that's a lot of the that's a
Um,
lot of the
no,
things
but seriously, dude,
that they
like,
say.
yeah, I mean, I just talk shit like that. The reality is, like, I know my place, you know, like, but
Yeah,
there's a
but
lot of club racers, dude. A lot of club racers I know that have tried the national thing. They'll go try to do Laguna or whatever. And they used to do Sonoma, right, or Sears Point, the proper name for it. Um, they would go to just to try to qualify, and I'm just like, dude, why would I spend that kind of money to
to just
hope
go
to
and
make the grid, you
qualify,
know? And
I
I know
know.
a guy that basically tried to qualify for years, dude, and I don't think he ever qualified. Like, I mean, and he'd go there, he'd be there, and it would be like, oh, he just did it so he could have his camper in the paddock. It's like,
That's funny.
you know, so there's that kind of racer, and then there's the guy that wants to see where he stacks up against the national dudes. Like,
Correct,
I
correct.
get that too. So, you know, on either case, do you have any like, you know, words of advice or things for them to look out for? Or,
Dude, send it. Dunlops. Be careful on the Dunlop if you're a
wow.
Pirelli guy.
Okay.
But I mean, dude, to be honest, how I said, go out, especially if it's your local place, you know, like you might not go as well, like, but just at the end of the day, that's why you ride a motorcycle, because you want to have fun, you know, like it's if you're riding a motorcycle and risking yourself and putting yourself out there, it's because you like this, you know. So if
Yeah.
you take the fun away from it, it's game over.
So Jason Fairclough, sorry, dude, I'm horrible at pronouncing people's names, but he wants to know. Oh no, he says that there's a good chunk of change up for grabs at the Loudon Classic. Are you planning to do that?
Yeah, that's definitely in the books. There's a few people steering the pot in a lot of the Facebook groups, so I think there's a lot of Moto America guys that are gonna show up to that one. Money up for grabs, and I'm telling you, money calls people, especially
Yeah,
all these
dude.
old school guys. All the old school guys, that's what they're all about.
Well, I mean, some of those old school guys are doing the bagger thing, right? You should do a
Yeah,
bagger, dude. You might make money.
dude, that's so much. I wish. I wish. That's a cool class. I wish I could ride a bagger.
There you go. Maybe somebody will call you now that you want to
Dude,
ride
I
one.
wish. That would be a
I
cool,
mean,
cool
like
situation.
that's kind of dependent on people actually watching this stupid thing. So there's that,
Nah,
right?
nah, that's good. That's good.
No, but
Definitely.
I have a whole bunch more, dude. Like people are kind of commenting a whole bunch of stuff. Like, you know, well, there's Johnny Simroska. Johnny wants to know when you're working at YCRS next.
I don't know. I think I gotta. They already sent out the schedule for next year, so I gotta
Yeah,
see
you got to
when
fill it
I'm
out, dude.
available. I gotta fill it out to see when I'm available to see where we'll be next. But
I
I'll
mean,
definitely be out there at a lot of them.
I'm guessing you're going to be most on the East Coast ones, right?
Mostly in the East Coast, but I've been doing a few of them around. I've been doing the ones in the at the Indie Ranch.
Okay.
That place is epic.
Yeah, it
That place
is.
is so
I've
nice,
been at a
dude.
couple of schools there in
Yeah. So
Jersey.
yeah, it's definitely cool to be working with these guys, you know, and like the whole school is so knowledgeable, and it's just
Dude, those guys have
even listen
changed.
as a
Those guys
coach,
have changed my life, dude. I mean,
dude,
honestly, I work for
as
them,
a
dude.
coach, I still learn, you know,
Me
like
too.
I learn and learn and learn and learn, and like sometimes I'm like, oh, that worked, like, and I'm like, ooh, he knew what he was talking about, you know,
Do
like
you this is something I do. Ken, I don't think really works with the school much anymore. But when he worked at the school, I would, after my races, I would check in with Ken and Nick. I would send Nick questions like, "Hey, bro, like this is happening. What do you think?" And he was lickety split. Text me right back like, "Oh, dude, like try this next time,"
they're like
So
that, man. Nick and
yeah,
just all of them are always super supportive, and how I tell you, like you have Easy and like Steven, and you have like a lot of these guys, Chris, you know, like we all race
Easy's the
in the
best, dude.
I know we all race and during we're always together. It's always a blast, you know, and it's like it's always learning, always trying to take care for each other, and like always trying to perform the best, you know, and like dude, this dude's got this dude's like you hear him go. I mean, talk for a lot of hours, you know, but it's like
Well,
everything they're
Nick
saying,
does
the
like
way
to
they're
talk.
putting it. I know, but the way they're putting it, you know, it's so precise, and it's like, man, that made total sense, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know. So it's definitely been a very cool experience.
So, Brian Green wants to know if you've ever been offered a quote factory ride.
I mean, what do you really call a factory ride? And nobody's really a factory ride nowadays. You could call big teams kind of like a
I mean, I
satellite, you could
think
say, in a
I mean,
way.
obviously, I think Jake and Cam are being paid. Um,
Yeah, they're getting paid, but I don't think Yamaha's putting all the money, you know. So you can really call them a factory team. Like at the end of the day, Attack Performance is kind of
I
putting.
no, no, no. I think Yamaha's writing the check, dude,
Oh, they're
on that
writing the
one.
check now.
I think
Well, only
Yamaha
on the
pays for the rider.
riders though.
Yes,
That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. But who's paying for the whole bill? Then Attack Performance is getting
yeah.
all
Yeah,
these people together to pay for all these bills. So
right,
if Yamaha's paying for the whole bill, you could call it like a Yamaha thing in a way, you know.
right.
So you could kind of call it like a satellite because they're getting satellite help. especially with the bikes and like the riders. The
I love
riders
that you're
paycheck,
real
you know.
about this, right? I love that you get it, dude. Like you know exactly what's going on, dude.
I mean, I've been around the sport for a long time, and like, dude, let's be honest. There's in this hand I can count the money in moto
Yeah.
now.
Uh-huh.
The rest are paying for a ride, you know.
Yeah, that's real talk, man.
And
That is
it's
real
just
talk.
it's sad. Like I just told you, call me and be like, hey, you want to come ride? I ride my bike and I'll make some money because I know you can't pay me, you know.
Right.
If I can make a little coin, I'll go ride it, you know. So I mean, it's like I've as a privateer, I've worked and I've invested so much in me and in my team, you know. It's like I need to get paid when I spin a lap, you know. It's like I told you I don't even practice because I ain't gonna get paid doing practice, you know.
Hey, I saw you practice on that Energica at Laguna, okay? I,
Yeah, but that's different. That's
you were a
planning for the
factory rider
future,
kind of
you
that day,
know.
right?
Kind of, you could say, and that's planning for the future, you know. That's
Yeah.
looking forward to the future. Like I definitely want to like, man, make money out of the sport. That's definitely what I want to keep doing, you know. And like the sport, you could say maybe it's getting better, you know.
So I wanted to touch on a couple of things that I said earlier about you and I sharing a few sponsors. Obviously there's the Pirelli thing, but you know what? Largely because of feedback I got from you via text message, I signed my whole TrackDaz crew to KYT helmets,
KYT.
dude. Right?
I mean, it's listen. Even for me, when I spoke to Brandon Kretu,
Yeah,
I was already like good friends with him because of the Ovales, you know, and I help a lot of the kids and like
yeah.
he actually helps me with the Ovales stuff, you know. So he came up to me and he was like, "Yo, you want to help me out with this?" And I was like, "Damn, dude, like you for real?" Like, and I was like, "Yo, come help me, help!" Like I promise, like we're not gonna let you down, you know. And I was like, "All right, let's do it," you know. And like I've crash tested those things and they work, you know.
Me too, bro.
They're and they're comfy. I for me is mostly about the visibility, you know. If I have good
The
visibility,
high port, right?
the eye you just like you got so much eyesight, you know, and it's just I think it's all about that. The more you could see, the better.
I mean, TJ is the guy that set us
TJ's
up.
not
He's
TJ's
such
a
a
good
beast.
guy too.
And
I
he
know.
hit
I
me
love
up and
TJ.
he was talking about something,
And
before he even made an
Butters,
offer. And yeah, Butters is cool. Dude, last time I saw
yeah,
Butters, it was at the Track Day Circus, and the dude gave me
yeah,
like a
yeah.
stack of screens and tear offs. So I was like, thanks, bro.
He's awesome.
Um,
Butters is cool.
but before, when I was talking to TJ, like I've been a Brown for a minute, dude, and like the last kind of quote unquote new helmet that came out was this. I'll just talk shit, like the Nex helmet, and I was like, dude, I
Mhm,
wouldn't take a shit in a Nex helmet, bro. So I was like, man, like, and I had never heard of the KYT really, and so I was
mhm.
like, fuck, it sounds good on paper, but I gotta find out from somebody. That's why I reached out to you. I was like, bro, please tell me what's going on with this
Dude,
KYT thing. And you're like, dude, it's good. I'm like, okay, if it's good
I've
enough
had a
for
lot of
this
people
guy,
reach. I've had a lot of people reach out now, but I mean, I wouldn't. I'm one of those guys that I want good gear. You know, like I want to protect myself because I've had my fair amount of good accidents. You know, dude, you always wear your gear and always try and do the best. You know, like and even I see somebody like when I go to these Latin American countries. You know, like I see a lot of guys like using like you could kind of say China helmets in a way, you know, and it's
you
like,
could say shit
dude,
helmets. That's
yeah,
more
yeah,
accurate.
okay, some shit helmets, you know, and it's like, dude, you don't play with your head. That's one thing
Yeah.
you don't play with. You do
Well, I
not
mean,
play with
dude,
your
like
head, you know.
I try to wear the best gear I can. I'm old, first of all, and I'm kind of fat, and yeah, and you're
Well,
nodding your head to that.
Why
Appreciate
not
that.
be
Yeah, like I have a real job. I gotta go to work on Monday, dude, and I've got all
sheesh?
jacked up because I'm a cheap ass with my riding gear. That's
Not
just
even there,
stupid,
not even that. If it's gonna hurt less, why not?
right? So, and then the other one is a good friend of mine. I've known him forever. I actually sponsored his kid back in the day, JJ Matter. Um,
JJ, I love JJ. He's
so
actually been helping me. He's actually been helping me and us with the
Suspension Matters is his company.
yeah with the whole electric bikes thing. So it's definitely it's. I've worked with him in the past, and I've raced against this kid in the past. Like when I started
That's
racing,
right.
and so it's knowing JJ, and it's like started working with him back in Laguna with you guys, and then the Moto America weekend, and since then he's been kind of helping us with the whole electric stuff. So my hats off to him. We've definitely been going in the right direction with everything we've been doing. So it's definitely been cool to have JJ in our corner this in that whole program.
So it's I'll share a funny story with you about JJ. Like I said, I sponsored his kid, right, when he was like a teenager. Probably when you were just
Racing against him, maybe.
yeah. I mean, 2011, 12,
Yeah,
and maybe a little bit
Milwaukee
before.
days.
Yeah, because it was like Benny rode
Benny.
that little bike, and then kind of
Mhm.
Ryan took over. And I hadn't seen Ryan since like 2012, right? And I'd been to JJ's shop a few times with the suspension bits, and he fixed my wheels and stuff, and really really helped me basically fix my beast, you know. And I apparently I walked by the shop, and Ryan was there 3 times before I realized it was Ryan because he's a grown ass man now.
Yeah, years, dude. But that's what
Dude, he's
his
a grown
dad
ass
says,
man now.
So
Yeah,
I bet.
yeah. So that I thought I'd share that with you
No,
because
that's cool.
it's pretty funny. All right, so man, there's a bunch of questions. Um, all right, so there's what do you think of? You were just talking about the different classes and stuff like that. Twins Cup obviously has, I think, a few of the Junior Cup kids coming up to Twins Cup this year. Kayla Yakov is kind of the big one, but I've heard Gus Rodeo, I think, is going to move up to that class as well. And I mean, those two were kind of stabbing each other in the neck all year on the 400. Do you think there's going to be like who do you think is the kid right now?
Give me one sec. Give me one sec.
All right.
Sorry, bro. So, man, yeah, I mean, you definitely have how I mentioned, you have a lot of talent coming up, and it's like,
Like
I mean,
who do you think's the top kid coming up?
I don't know. That's one of my favorite racing, the Junior Cup class. It's like all them kids are senders. They're at it. But I do know the change of chassis might be challenging sometimes. Because now you're kind of going into, let's say, a more stiffer reeler chassis in a way. So I don't know. It's definitely gonna be cool to see how that whole stacks up.
Who do you think?
I know they're all gonna go fast. I mean, if you go fast on a motorcycle, you're gonna go fast.
So who do you think's the most underrated rider in that class?
In which class? In the
Moto America, period. Actually, it doesn't have to pick a class. Who's the most besides yourself?
dude, I don't know. That's a hard question. You have a lot of good talent. You have Dom Doyle. I think Dom Doyle has a lot of talent. I mean, Maz has a lot of talent. You have a lot of these kids that
What's that? What about that Powers kid?
Luke. Yeah, I mean, he
Yeah,
just. I don't know if he paid for his ride or not, but he just went over to World Superbike. So it's like that's very cool for him. So like, you have a lot of talent. It's like I was earlier. Any class you look at, you have a lot of talent, dude.
yeah, yeah. All right, so you know what, dude? I'm gonna like we're kind of running. We're at about hour and 20 right now, so I'm just gonna kind of blow through.
That's
Because,
all
dude,
right. No
I
stress,
had a bunch
bro.
of commentary from Instagram and Reddit and Facebook. Cardi kind of already went through some of them. From Instagram, there's a guy who's kind of a regular commenter on my YouTube stuff, but he goes by Pinky. But how God damn it. He's like, how frustrating is it to know that you're very talented, often winning races and not having a factory ride, you know? But we kind of already touched on that one, so I'm going to bounce that one. We already touched about your work away from work. Racing is your work,
Is
right?
my work. Yep.
Andreas Mejia,
Yeah. Good buddy of mine.
he had a couple of questions for you. I'm gonna scroll up and see if I can find it because he was saying something cool. Yeah. Oh, he says that you're always making it seem so easy. All right.
It's
And
not
then
easy, buddy. It's not.
no, but you make it look easy. Uh,
Sometimes.
and then from Reddit. Wow. Okay. So there's a guy, Lieutenant Dan Has Legs is his username, I guess, and he'd like to hear you talk about your off-season training and what club racers can do to make the step up. I think we kind of touched on that already.
Yeah, I mean, mini bikes. I mean, stay on a board. I think any kind of riding is key, you know.
And then Gun Damn It Pete is his name, and he says he's got your old race bike, your old R6, and can you ask him about any good or bad memories from when he rode it? Because he races it now.
Which bike might it have been?
I think it was a Motorsport R6. It was like that red one. It's like
Yeah, I
red.
mean that I was on the podium a few times on that bike. You know, that's the year that one of the teams kind of fell apart, and a lot of us were scrambling to go get a team. You know, so back in the day was Ron, I believe, who used to run that team. Ron Sanders or Ron from RSR, I think it was.
So, he said, "Do you have any bad memories riding it?" I don't understand that.
Nah, I hope I don't.
And there was a guy I mean, I'll just say it so we could shit on this guy if we have to, but um, KCF Cycle is his username, and he says that are you going to hear about the time that he totally cracked the frame and then filled it with JB weld or something? Like, you want to?
I don't know if that was me. I
Yeah,
don't. I mean, I wouldn't be that sketch. That's way sketch.
that sounds sketchy, right?
That's way sketch.
I was like, okay, like we're scumbags, but we have honor, right? Like that's.
I've heard about people filling their chassis with lead.
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
heard about
I was
I've
at
heard about
Daytona.
that.
I was at Daytona one year, and Jeff Bostrom blew an engine and bought an engine and had it overnighted to the track. And he gets it to the track, and they found out the cases were welded up, you know.
JV welded
And it's like,
together.
shit, dude. So yeah, I mean, you know, right?
It happens.
Well, you know what, Stefano? Tonight, man, this was fun, dude. Like, it's a great chat. You know, appreciate you opening up to me, man, and you know, sharing with everybody like what it's like to be the privateer.
Nah, definitely, Dustin. I appreciate the invite, man. And
Yeah.
hey, if you want to do it again, we can definitely do it again. We
I
can
mean, let's think about it,
keep.
dude. Maybe I could get you
Yeah,
on and be like
definitely.
the privateer guy after every round of Motor America. I could
Let
squeeze you in, dude. We make it
let me
work.
know. We'll figure something out. We'll figure something out.
Right on, man. Well,
Appreciate you for having me, and
yeah.
appreciate all everybody that tuned up to hear us. You know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and maybe I'll see you at Champ School or something.
Definitely, we'll definitely be out there. That's for sure. That's the plan.
All right, man. I'm gonna peace out now.
All right, brother.
See you, man.
Appreciate you. Be good.
All right.